To discuss the war in Gaza, I'm joined by the Palestinian ambassador to the UK, Hussam Zomlot. Ambassador, thank you very much indeed for coming in. I do appreciate you taking the time, particularly at a time like this, to come to the studio. You were very active on Twitter from the moment that this hospital was hit. You said it's a massacre. Hundreds are killed in an Israeli strike on the hospital. Hundreds of medical staff taking refuge. How long will it take to stop these atrocious war crimes? You then said waiting for UK government condemnation of this atrocious act of mass murder after being directly hit by an Israeli airstrike. And you carried on when Keir Starmer said the scenes of hundreds killed at the hospital in Gaza are devastating and can't be justified. International law must be upheld, but didn't mention Israel. You said, why can't you condemn this? Why is it so hard for someone with a background in human rights law? Is it because the victims are Palestinian? So you were in no doubt last night. This was an Israeli airstrike. And yet I watched the BBC News this evening. They did an extensive investigation of everything that's available at the moment by their Verify unit, specifically designed to cut through any partisan rhetoric and get to reality. And based on circumstantial evidence, as they said, but the clear conclusion of that investigation is it's far more probable that this was actually fired from within Gaza. It was a misfire and it landed in the car park next to the hospital. And they cite, for example, the crater is tiny by comparison to the kind of crater you would see from a conventional Israel missile, and so on. What is your response to that? Have you changed your absolute conviction that this is an Israeli airstrike?
Before I answer your question, Piers, today is the first day of our national mourning for the killing of hundreds of innocent people. And in memory of those hundreds of doctors, nurses, medical staff, patients, cancer patients, patients with kidney failures, children, innocent people who took refuge in a Baptist-sponsored hospital, the Anglican. In memory of all of those who were killed last night, allow me to have a moment of silence. Now back to your question. This very same hospital, the Baptist Ahli Hospital of Gaza, was bombarded only 2 days before last night by the Israeli airstrike. And they recognized that. This very same hospital was designated by Israel as a place to be evacuated. This very same hospital, the director of it was called by the Israeli occupation authorities asking him to evacuate all patients en masse.
But that's not my question.
No. I'm answering your question and allow me to answer.
My question is, are you still as sure as you were last night?
I'm answering your question. I believe the Archbishop of Jerusalem, when he condemns the Israeli airstrike, I don't believe the Israeli mouthpieces and spokespeople. They lie more than they breathe. And their record is very clear. Number three. You think groups in Gaza have such, precision and firepower? Really? Seriously?
Well, I don't think it was precise.
Seriously?
That's the point. If you look at the
it was.
If you look at the
It was.
Ambassador, with respect, if you look at the BBC, if you look at the BBC investigation,
It was.
they include footage which seems to show a rocket misfiring. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. There's no sound. You see it go up, and then you see a ball of fire, and it looks like, and this was the BBC's conclusion, based again on circumstantial evidence, that this was fired from within Gaza. It misfired. It then landed in the car park next to the hospital. All I ask you this, Ambassador.
Yes, I am an ambassador. I'm an official, and I tell you with certainty, this was an Israeli airstrike.
Where's your evidence?
I have the evidence, and you will see the evidence.
But where is it?
I'll tell you what's my evidence. My evidence is that we are calling for the Red Cross to come and investigate this, and for the ICC. And until now, the Red Cross has the responsibility at such war crimes. Who's blocking the Red Cross? Anyway, we have very strong civil society, human rights organizations on the ground. We are communicating with them. Tomorrow you will hear from everybody.
And you believe you will produce evidence that it was Israeli?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Why would the American ambassador?
The question, Piers,
let me ask you this.
don't ask me about the Americans. The Americans.
Why would the President of the United States say that his own independent investigation by his own people, i.e., not the intelligence given to him by the Israelis, that has also established it came from within Gaza?
Is that a serious question, Piers? Really, you think the Americans are?
You think he's lying, President Biden?
Yes, he is lying. He is lying. And he is part of.
That's a big charge to make about
well,
the President of the United States.
He has just lied before getting any evidence. There is no way.
No, he's seen evidence.
I don't know if he's seen evidence.
Well, he said he has.
He doesn't have personnel. If he has personnel, he must provide protection for our civilians. Then he is complicit in the crimes against.
When you see that video, what do you think you're?
Then Biden is.
What do you think you're seeing, Ambassador?
It's whitewashing and gaslighting, as we have been seeing over decades.
What if you're wrong?
And well, what if I am wrong? Bring me again here, okay?
Okay.
Bring me again here, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay.
No one has such firepower except the Israeli.
But have you seen the crater?
Occupation
Have you seen the crater?
Army, and you know what? No one even in the region has such firepower.
Have you seen?
Have you very sophisticated.
Have you seen the crater?
I have seen. I have.
Does that crater not tell you it was not an Israeli airstrike?
See, this is the trick. I'll tell you what happened. Israel did it. Israel thought the world was giving it the green light, that it was okay to do so. But when we did it, they did not expect the outcry, and then they did it again as they do all the time.
Why is the crater so small?
As they do all the time, they simply go out and deny it, blur the lines, two stories, we don't know. And I will remind you, few weeks from now or few months, Israel will come out and admit it. But it will be too late. They will not get the condemnation.
I don't think they will.
They will admit it, as they did in the past. In the past, they have denied many things.
Have you seen, out of interest, have you seen the BBC Verify investigation? Did you watch that tonight?
You know, the BBC is to be blamed for part of this.
Why?
Because the BBC just ran one day before that Hamas digs tunnels underneath hospitals. Primarily speaking, instigating the Israeli IDF, another indication that they did it, that they should go after hospitals, which is a war crime, as you know, very well defined. Now, what is the issue here? What is the main issue here? Is that all these lies that have been happening over the years are not challenged by you, Piers. You and all the mainstream.
Well, that's completely untrue.
No, it is true.
All that says to me is you've never seen me on air.
I have seen you.
Well,
I have seen your interview.
You saw me for years at CNN.
I have seen your interview.
You've seen me interview Netanyahu twice?
I have seen your interview just a few days ago with the Israeli ambassador. She did say here, on this seat, that they provided the whole south of Gaza as a safe zone, and they are building shelters to Palestinian civilians. She told you that.
And I said
Did you challenge her?
I said that.
Did you challenge her?
I challenged her like this.
No, you did not challenge her. You did not challenge her. Let me tell you, my sister. No. I'll tell you, my sister.
She denied there was a humanitarian crisis.
She did.
I said there was.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You started that conversation with her with showing an outpouring emotions. Good for you.
Yes.
About the mothers. Why didn't you start with me about the thousands of mothers, grandmothers?
I literally read that.
With me.
Well, Ambassador.
This is the asymmetry.
Ambassador.
That she lied.
There's no asymmetry.
She lied with you.
Let me be clear.
And she said that the south of Gaza is safe. You know how many people were killed in the south of Gaza only in the last 48 hours? You know that my sister now, she lives in the south of Gaza.
I know.
And you're following my Twitter. Look at my nephew, Ammar.
I saw it.
You saw Ammar.
Yes.
You saw what happened to Ammar.
Yes.
They live in the south. So an Israeli official sits here and tells the world that the south of Gaza is safe and people should go there en masse, therefore ethnically cleansing these people to the south to actually slaughter them. And then you, Piers, do not look her in the eye and tell her, stop lying. I was on the BBC Sunday morning just a couple of days ago with the foreign secretary and others. Before me was another Israeli mouthpiece, spokesperson, Mark Regev. He said, we did not and will not target any hospitals. They lie all the time.
Yes, but just to be clear, on the hospital, there is a clear circumstantial set of evidence, which has been established now by the BBC, by the independent Verify unit. They don't have any skin in this.
You think that was the first time Israel targets a hospital, Piers?
Really? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about last night's atrocity, which is what it is, because hundreds of people have died. There remains a massive question mark over whether Israel had anything to do with it.
What about the other 2,800?
Well, let me come to this. All right.
What about the other 2,800?
Let's come to this. So I want to take you back to October the 7th, because you were very quick last night when you believed it was an Israeli airstrike that had committed this horror, which had killed several hundred people. We're not entirely sure of the exact death toll yet. but certainly hundreds of people appear to have died. You were very quick to demand that everyone from Keir Starmer to others publicly condemn what had happened.
Of course.
So let me take you back.
Of course.
Well, hang on. Let me take you back to October the 7th.
Don't play this.
No, I'm not playing anything.
No, don't play this. Don't play this.
If you are in the...
No, what
Ambassador,
I wanted...
Ambassador, let me finish my question.
Okay. I know where you're going.
Well,
but I want to explain.
I don't think it takes a genius to work out where I'm going. But let me ask a question first.
Okay.
Then you can respond, please.
Okay.
Okay? My question is this. You're very, very keen to demand that political leaders, including Sir Keir Starmer here, publicly condemn an attack on a hospital which may not have been Israel, right? And you repeated that throughout your evening on Twitter, right?
That's true.
But what you are not prepared to do yourself as the ambassador to the UK, because I've checked your Twitter feed and you've not done this, and to my knowledge you've not done this in public, you're not prepared to condemn Hamas for the slaughter of 1,400 innocent people in Israel on October the 7th. So I give you the chance, given that you want others to condemn acts that kill people, even if they're not responsible, given that Hamas have brazenly admitted responsibility for what they did, are you prepared to condemn it?
Piers, you know, this game and this narrative...
It's not a game.
It's a game.
Why?
I'll tell you.
Why should you demand condemnation of people dying, but not be prepared to condemn it yourself?
Allow me to explain it to you and to your viewers why it is a game, and a very vicious, unfair, asymmetric game that has contributed to the oppression of my people for 100 years. Number one, you know our position. You know that Hamas is just a militant group that was created 20, 30 years ago.
You think they're terrorists?
You asked me this question? Okay. What is the definition of terrorism?
Well, I'll just ask you,
what
you think
is the definition of terrorism? I'll give you the
UK government has them as a prescribed
Pierce, I'll give you the international United Nations definition of terrorism. It is the unlawful use of violence against civilians to terrorize them for the sake of a political agenda. Agreed? Agreed? Unlawful violence against civilians. Do you... And answer me, please.
Well, no, I've asked you a question.
Do you consider Israel to be
Ambassador, with respect, I'm asking you a
terrorist
question.
state? Do you consider Israel to be a terrorist
Ambassador, if you won't answer me, why should I answer you?
Did we agree? Did we agree on the definition of terrorism?
I've asked you, is Hamas a terror group?
Israel has been targeting civilians in front of your eyes for 75 years.
But why should I answer any of your questions if you won't answer mine?
Deliberate targeting, and not just this round. 2014, you know all that happened. 2005.
I'm very aware of the history.
Okay, then you are aware.
I've been very critical of Israel over the years.
Is Israel a terrorist state?
I'm asking you the question.
Is Israel a terrorist state?
Ambassador.
Well, this is the asymmetric.
Ambassador.
Answer me and I'll answer you about Hamas.
It's not how this works.
No, it is.
It's my show.
It is.
And you're a guest on my show.
It is. From now on, this is the way it works.
Okay,
but there has to be equity and
Ambassador,
symmetry.
You are the ambassador to the United Kingdom.
We are equal. I'll ask you a question.
You are the ambassador.
I am, proudly so. Proudly so. I'll ask you a question.
And you've been here, I think, since 2018.
Yes.
You've been ambassador for 5 years, right?
Yes, and I was in the US before.
Right, and the UK government has Hamas identified as a prescribed terror group. Do you agree with that?
That's the UK business.
You don't agree?
No. This is not about me agreeing or agreeing. I'd like the UK to designate the Kahanist in the Israeli government as a terrorist group.
You may want other groups designated.
As a terrorist group. I want to see
But as the Palestinian ambassador, do you disagree with Hamas being prescribed as a terror group?
Get my point. Please, get my point. I want to see equal treatment, and I will accept the equal rules. If these rules are applied on the Israelis, I would raise my hand and accept it.
Okay.
I will put my hand on my heart.
Let me say this to you.
Do you consider Israel to be a terrorist state?
Let me say this to you.
That's number one. Number two, I'll ask you, do you accept the UK? You asked me about the UK government. The UK designates Palestine as the occupied Palestinian territory, right? OPT. We are occupied. Do you accept that designation?
Well, it's an interesting question about occupation, isn't it?
That's your government.
I think the Palestinians have lived in a very repressive...
So it's not occupation?
Well, it's a repression, right?
What?
They are living.
You don't accept international.
They are living as repressed people. So, I have for years.
Oppressed by what?
Well, they're oppressed by Israel effectively keeping people trapped in Gaza, right? And they have the ability, as they've shown in the last few days, to turn on and off water, to turn on and off food supply. I think all this is wrong.
What about the West Bank?
Ambassador, I think it's all wrong. But let me just ask.
No. This is a major point.
You're not interviewing me.
Is it an occupation?
Ambassador, you're not interviewing me. And what you're trying to do, if you don't mind me saying, you are distracting from my original question.
It's a conversation.
Respectfully, Ambassador.
It's a conversation.
I was interested that you last night were demanding that political leaders like Keir Starmer condemn a supposed attack by Israelis on a hospital, which now looks like it wasn't by Israelis. And I'm simply saying to you,
You keep repeating
if
this,
you want
parroting this. How do
Ambassador,
you know?
let me
How do
finish
you
my
know?
question.
How do you know it's not by
If you
Israelis?
want, I don't.
How do you know?
I don't.
So don't say it.
But nor do you.
Oh, I know what I'm saying. I represent the situation.
You do not know
you
it was an Israeli airstrike.
You hold me accountable next time. You're neutral.
Okay.
You're neutral.
I am neutral.
I'm not neutral.
Okay, I get that.
So no.
Okay.
You are being biased.
That is honest of you.
You are taking the
I'm
Israeli
not.
side.
No, I'm not.
You are.
I'm not saying...
You are following the cue from Israel.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm saying the BBC Verify unit
BBC?
has said tonight, do you think they're impartial in this or not?
They shouldn't.
They won't even call Hamas terrorists.
This is none of their business. This is the business of Karim Khan, the prosecutor.
I'm going to ask you one more time, and you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to. It's entirely down to you. But given that last night you wanted people to condemn what happened last night, in your belief that it was an Israeli airstrike, and you were ferocious in demanding that repeatedly, will you now take the opportunity to condemn what Hamas did on October the 7th? I only ask you one more time.
22 Arab states convened at the beginning of this, including my state, my government, and they condemned.
Do you personally condemn it?
They condemned the killing of civilians from all sides.
Right.
You know what?
Not all sides.
No, from all sides.
Do you condemn what
From
happened
all
on
sides.
October the 7th?
Pierce,
Why are you so reluctant to condemn it?
You asked.
You were the one last night demanding people condemn things.
I'll tell you why. I would be the first to condemn. If I ever saw you asking an Israeli official to condemn, did you ask the ambassador to condemn all the atrocities?
I will be asking.
I'll tell you.
I will be asking the representative of the ambassador.
No, you
tonight
had the ambassador before me. You did not ask her to condemn anything.
Then you didn't watch the interview.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay. Let me ask you one more time.
I did.
Because I'm not sure if you heard my question.
I will not answer this question unless you allow me to explain.
No, that's fine. You don't have to answer it.
No, I'll tell you.
But if you're not going to answer it, don't demand that other people condemn things.
No.
And certainly don't ask me to condemn things.
Pierce.
If you won't condemn 1,400 people being slaughtered...
Our position.
How can you not condemn what they did?
Our position is very clear. I represent the Palestinian leadership and people. I represent the PLO. That's the sole legitimate representation of the Palestinian people. President Mahmoud Abbas, the government.
I know.
Hamas is not part of the government.
I know.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, that legitimate representation I represent have committed for 30 years for first non-violence and negotiations. I belong to that camp. You're asking the wrong person. Committed to international resolutions and committed to the recognition of Israel. We recognize the state of Israel long before anyone else. And we still waiting for Israel's recognition of us. And guess what happened in this 30 years? Every political avenue was blocked. Every legal avenue like the ICJ and the ICC is blocked. Every hope for any Palestinian is blocked. You are talking to a person who religiously believes in non-violence. So please don't ask me that question.
If you believe in non-violence, Ambassador, why are you reluctant? If you believe in non-violence,
that's why I picked diplomacy.
Why are you so reluctant
That's
to
why I
condemn
wanted to become an
the
ambassador.
worst
Because
terror attack
I believe in the power. I believe in the power of diplomacy. I believe in the power of non-violence.
Okay.
I believe that we should always return and maintain the moral high ground. But that's why I am answering the way I'm answering.
Okay, I understand.
That's why I'm challenging you.
Okay,
because
understand.
the moment I accept your question is the moment I accept we are the instigators of violence. We are the aggressors. And I asked you the question before.
I actually didn't say that.
No.
I didn't say that to you. I
understand
you're not part of Hamas.
No. Not me only.
I
the entire Palestinian people are the instigators
I understand
of
you're not.
The question.
I understand you're not Hamas.
Let me explain, Pierce, please.
But I understand it.
Cool down. The moment I accept this logic of condemnation, in the lack of Israeli officials being asked by you and everybody else to condemn, that moment I accept that my people are lesser of a people, that we are not equal, that we are a lesser of a, children of a God.
And I don't believe that.
Okay, no, I think.
And I think Palestinian people are absolutely entitled to fairness and equality and human rights, many of the things they've been deprived of for decades. I would love to see peace in the Middle East, but nobody can show me how what Hamas did on October the 7th has done anything for the Palestinian people other than set everything back and make peace even more unlikely.
The moment I see that equity, that balance, I'll be the first to use any word you want. But so long as there is this imbalance, this racism against Palestinians, this consideration of us of being, 1/5
But I'm
You know
not
that?
racist
You
against
know-
Palestinian
No,
people.
I think there are people who are racist. I think anti-Palestinianism is flourishing everywhere. I think we are seen as to be less of value than the Israeli lives.
Let me ask you
I'll tell
something.
you how. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
Ambassador.
You brought me here. You're bringing everybody. This has been the focus of everyone. You have located your moral compass on the 7th of October.
No.
Did you locate your?
No.
Did you locate your moral
All
compass?
that says to me is...
Did you locate your moral compass
I
on
covered...
the 200 people killed this year in the West
Ambassador,
Bank?
I've covered...
Did you bring me to
Ambassador,
discuss the
you're
many
talking to-
Palestinians who were killed only in the last few
Ambassador,
months?
Ambassador.
No, this is the that's
Let me
that's
try
what
and
I'm
respond
calling.
to you.
Okay.
I've been a journalist for 30 years. I've run major national newspapers. I had a daily show at CNN for 4 years. If you actually go back and look at what I did, including, for example, a 2-year campaign against the Iraq War, which I thought was an illegal invasion of
Well, I saw
a Middle
that.
Eastern
I saw
country.
that. I saw that.
So please do not pigeonhole me as somebody
I will.
that has
I will.
no
I will.
compassion
It's
for
my role.
Palestinian people.
I
But
I
don't
will.
generalise.
You oppose the war.
I've been getting Palestinians on all week.
Yes, you.
I've been giving Palestinians platforms, including you, all week, right?
Okay. But when Israelis were harmed, you see, this is what I'm telling you. Why didn't you bring Palestinians when hundreds,
guarantee
thousands of Palestinians are
answer.
killed
Here's my
by
answer.
settler militias killed?
Ambassador, here's my answer.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, absolutely guarantee you, that if the Israelis ever carried out a terror attack of the nature we saw
They did.
on October the 7th,
They are doing.
what, they
Since
killed...
1948.
They pulled Holocaust survivors out
didn't
of
you-
their homes and kept them hostage. They shot babies in their cribs.
Watch the terminology.
They burned
Terminology, please.
families alive,
Terminology, please.
deliberately going in to get civilians.
You see, your responsibility is to really use the right terminology here.
Why? This is indisputable.
All of the words.
All that happened.
You are invoking many things here. You've just invoked terrorism. You are now invoking ISIS.
You don't dispute it was a terror attack, surely?
You are now invoking ISIS, and you spoke about.
I haven't mentioned ISIS, but
No,
for the
you
record,
did. You did.
not with you, but for the record,
with everybody.
I do believe there's a
Okay,
parallel
that's-
between what
that's
Hamas has done
That's criminal.
on October the 7th and ISIS.
No. Okay. You see,
You don't agree?
the Israeli, look, what happened on the 7th of October is not condoned. We reject wholeheartedly the targeting of civilians, our culture, our upbringing, who we are as Palestinian Christian and Muslims. What happened is non-Palestinian. How is that? And we reject it. And we want to continue maintaining the moral grounds of our cause, very right.
Let me ask you this.
Okay, let me continue.
Yeah.
Let me continue.
Okay.
However, since the 7th of October, the first moment, Israel started preparing and putting together a huge campaign to delegitimize the Palestinian people, to link Hamas to ISIS, and then link Hamas to the Palestinian people, then link the Palestinian people to ISIS, then do the ethnic cleansing and the mass destruction and the mass murder you are following on your
But I think
sets.
okay.
That's exactly what happened. Then the international media, mainstream media, were literally
Let me
following
ask you
the
a
cues.
question.
Following the cues. ISIS. You talked about Iraq all the time. ISIS is a group of criminals who gathered from all over, mercenaries who were there to kill and only to kill
Yes.
with no real agenda. You agree?
Yes.
You think Palestinians are that?
No.
Don't you think we have
No,
a political
but I think
and
what I-
legal case to make?
but I think what
so
I-
why are we using this term?
Ambassador,
we are using these terms to
let me make
allow
it-
the
let
Israeli
me make it clear.
war machine to kill
Let me
en
make-
masse.
let me respond.
That's why we are using.
Let me respond.
So
Let me
everybody
respond.
who use these words is complicit.
Ambassador,
Everyone.
let me respond.
Everyone.
Let me
Who
respond.
Okay, respond, please.
I do not believe that most Palestinian people support what Hamas did on October the 7th. I do not believe you do. I do not believe the Palestinian Authority does. So do not think for a moment that I think you're all the same. I think Hamas is a terror group who committed an act of unspeakable depravity and terrorism, and they must be held accountable. The question is, what is an acceptable way to hold them accountable? I do not believe a full ground invasion will do anything but make this 10 times worse, for the record. But let me ask you this. There are 200 hostages, I think 199 hostages being kept by Hamas. Should they be released?
Yes.
They include children, they include Holocaust survivors. What is your view?
Yeah, all hostages should be released. First of all, they should be kept safe and protected, and they should be released, but hostages from all sides.
How do we get to peace here, Ambassador? Final question.
We have 5,000 hostages in Israeli jail,
Let me
also including children and women.
Let me ask-
We have many of them.
Okay, you made your point.
Who are rounded there without charge or trial.
Let me ask
So
you
everybody has to be released.
I've got to wrap this, but final question. How do we get to peace from here? It seems to me, after 30 years of covering this conflict, we've never been further away from peace between Israel and Palestine. How do we get to peace here?
By listening from your heart and your brain that this is a people struggle for 106 years. 106 years because it all started here. The Balfour Declaration by the British Empire, where they promised our land without consulting us, and they turned us in that 67 words into non-Jewish minorities. We were 98% of the population. We had lived there for millennia. We were the cradle of civilization. We produced every prophet. Palestine is the birthplace of Christianity. We were literally the hub of the region, the linkage between Europe, Asia, and Africa. And all of a sudden, we are only a non-Jewish minorities. And then Britain took over our land. And not only they denied our peoplehood and nationhood in 1917, but they denied us during the mandate our statehood, because the contract with the League of Nations was Britain will come and take mandate of Palestine to prepare us and to recognize us as a state as Palestine. You know what happened in the Nakba and the mass expulsion, the Jewish militias at the time ethnically cleansed 2/3 of our nation, including
I know the history.
Including my own parents. So
I know the history. And I have great sympathy, by the way, with what happened to Palestine.
Since then, my people, 67 and the military occupation that we discussed, since then, this is a people struggle for freedom, for justice, for equality. This is a people's cry to survive.
How do we get to peace?
By full application of international rules. We did not create the post-World War II
two-state solution?
Yes, of course, Israel has to end its occupation that began in 1967. Refugee rights must be respected in accordance with international law. Two neighborly countries can get together with neighborly relations, but the Palestinian people have the right to defend themselves, and a state. We don't have an army. A state has an army. A state will do so. So occupation is the root cause of all this discussion.
I have to end it there. We've had half an hour. I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much. I understand the passion. As you say, you're not an impartial person in this. I understand that. And I wish your family all the very best in Gaza. I mean that very sincerely.
Thank you.
I hope they're okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.